Welcome back to Dyson Sphere Program. My name is Nilaus, and this is a guide on just some cool advanced tips and tricks that I have come up with. Well, I've noticed, and people have been mentioning it to me during my live streams, and in every single stream there's always someone who comes in and goes like, wow, how did you do that? That's so cool. I didn't know that was the case. So now I've tried to collect some of these cool things into a single video, and hopefully you will learn a few of these. Maybe, probably you know most of them, but maybe also you don't know all of them. Maybe if you watch my live streams, then you know all of them by now. But in any case, I think that this will be useful. If it is, of course, useful, and you find something new that you didn't know before, consider hitting the like button, because that's kind of how we tell YouTube and other viewers that this is something that's worth watching. Now, we'll be just going through a lot of things just in seemingly random order, so let's just give it a shot. What we're going to start with is hopefully a thing that's going to be helpful. We all know by now, hopefully, that we can go to our Interstellar Logistics from the map view, and therefore we can grab things from anywhere on the planet if we feel like it. That is a very nice feature and really good, and it also works for planetary logistics, and it also works for the new logistics distributor. So you can actually grab things from the logistics distributor directly from anywhere in the world, which is absolutely nice, and you can of course do it as well from all of these other ones. Now, one of the things that has always been annoying about this is when you want to pick up a specific number. So let's say I want 35 of these, then fidgeting around here, 35, it can be done, but it can also be a bit more difficult if I want to get like 3,766, so there's only 500 left. But the good news is we can just do, what did I say, 3,766, just type it in, and then that's what you get, and you have the 5,000 remaining here. And that is a massive improvement, I think. So some of the times, if you, for example, have some precious things, you do want to take all of it, but you want to take some of them out, then that's an easy way to do it. For example, here, I might want to take the 137, so we just round it off to a nice 500. I don't want to go lower, because then it'll send in another flight here. So I hope that's something that's added relatively recently, and it's a really nice little feature. Let's have a look at a few blueprint tricks that we have. I am always, when I land on a planet, I always use this blueprint. This is a blueprint that covers the entire planet in power poles down the lines, and also solar panels. And if I click it, of course, well, it's going to be right now because it's already placed. Then it's not much is going to happen. But what I can do is, if I look at here I am located, I can actually hold shift and then move around in here. And I can even double tap so I fly. We can move to a location, and if there is a location here that I need to fix some things, then I can move to this location by just shift clicking or shift right clicking, and then Icarus will fly here. Hopefully. I hear you flying. There you are. Come on. So I want to fly down here. And for example, if these were in the way, then I would be able to fly to this location, jump out, fix the thing here, and then go back into my blueprint and continue working on this. Find another place that maybe needs some fixing, and then go to that location. So I think that's a pretty neat part that you can move around in the blueprint. So if you, for example, have a blueprint you want to place down, and let's say another part is that I have a big blueprint. Let's go from here. I have a blueprint that I want to place. Let's take one of the cool new blueprints that I made recently. Well, yeah. Where are you? Where are you? It's actually a solar sail blueprint. That one. Like, this is a really cool blueprint I recently made. And I want to place it down, but it's going to be difficult to find the right place. But when I find the place that I want to make it, I actually might want to just fly there. I don't know where on the map I am, but I don't care, because I can just tell my little Icarus to fly to that location, and then we can place it here as well. So that is it's a really cool little feature as well. Let me find a location that I'm looking for. Actually, this can also be abused in a way that you can go in here and go to a location and just click on the map. Come on. Alright, I have to... There we go. So now I'm flying to that specific location if I was actually just not redirecting it. Right, let's have a look at another blueprint and another blueprint feature. Let's take a hydrogen power that I have here. Okay, let's not do that. Oops. Our hydrogen power is here. This is basically a simple power build that I built once I get to a new planet, and it has to be placed at this location and meticulously place it here. Unfortunately, as we place it, actually that's it's much better to say I want to place it here because that's next to the other one. So I place it here. Unfortunately, it's not going to be fitting in because there are some things here, then some things in the way, some minerals in the way, but it's just power, so I'd rather just stamp it down. So you can see here, even though it says on the screen, maybe a lot of you don't know it yet, because who the hell reads stuff on the screen? Press Shift Enter, and then you place it at that location immediately. All the stuff that you can. So that's the shift click of Factorio blueprints. Really amazing that they added it, and of course they added it based on popular demand. So that's super cool little extra trick here. Now, here is another thing we're going to be looking at. Also, this is related to blueprints. They have added this new feature here, this little one. Transport unit auto replenishment is a new feature that was added. It's pretty clearly, to me at least, used for or prepared for the combat patch or things that they are adding, because this one says auto replenish, so that whenever you open it, you auto replenish it. But there's no reason to have an auto replenish when they can't die. But so I'm thinking this is because you might lose some to some attacks, and then when you go back in here, it'll just auto fill up, so you don't have to spend time on going through all of your Interstellar Logistics and just go in here and tap it up. So, but it does have a benefit right now. First of all, if we want to get stuff in here, we can just click it and then it'll put the maximum number in as well. That's pretty neat by itself, but what is even better is that if you copy it to a new location by just shift clicking and copying it, hear that? It remembers this setting and it will automatically put them in here. This means that now my blueprints will also include the insert of drones, bots and vessels, because then that's taken care of immediately. I think that's a pretty damn amazing little improvement. It's not really, well, it's a small thing, but it just makes it really neat that when you copy something, that's how I usually do. I build things and then I copy it to the next one, then it automatically sets in drones and vessels as well if I remember to set this button. So I'm also using this consistently as the way to insert drones and vessels. You can also see the tooltip here that you can actually see what's in here, and that's a big improvement as well. Just a very nice little thing so you can see if they have what they need in here. Alright, the next thing is what invariably happens is you make some mess here. Now this is a small mess, so it's going to be two things I want to show. First of all, we have a full inventory, and you can actually use your inventory over here just for storage, and then you can forget that you actually had all of this. But also things that you just have a lot of that isn't really a requester. So for some reason I have some proliferators, then I can just put them down here. Then I just get 1000 extra storage for that. Or this one's also just kind of in the way. Oh, I already have it. Okay, I'm already requesting it. Then I just put it down here. But if you have some things that you're not requesting, but you want to just clean up, there we go. We have now a much nicer inventory. Now as we do this is easy to get all of them, but sometimes when you have a big build, let's make a mess. Let's make a mess. How would we want to make a mess? We are going to let's see, put these back in here to our inventory, because we want to get in a situation that has lots of, there we go, that's a lot of inventory. So now if I delete this thing here, then all of that becomes everywhere, and afterwards when I clean up my inventory, I'm gonna need to clean it up as well. Did I get that one? No, I didn't. And what else? You can go in here, you can go in there. Okay, I get pretty good inventory, so hold shift delete, then it disappears, shift delete, then it disappears. But I want to pick up this part, and this is a mess because it takes forever. So here's a little trick. Go to the map view, because it has a much bigger focus. It covers a much bigger area when you're on the map view. Of course, you can't reach things that are out of your reach, but instead of going like this and just giving a little bit of time, then if you see, go on the map view, you can get so much more, and it's so much easier to get stuff in here, and we still have a full inventory. So that's just a little thing on when you clean up the mess, then it's much easier to do it from the map view as well. Yeah, that's a mess. Delete that. Don't care about it. And so for the next trick, I have to set up a bit of things, and maybe you've already noticed it because I already have up here on the map view or on my overlay, I actually have a notification. This is a notification that something has run out, and this is something I haven't really been using very much previously, but I want to use it a lot more because it's really hard to track everything that's going on your galactic view, and something will run out, and there'll be something where you run out of some kind of rare material, and then the whole process stops, and then suddenly your green sign stops, and you want to know about it when it has it's been stopped for a while. So I have to build this setup. Basically, this is a local requester of yellow signs, and it goes into another requester that just provides it locally. Nothing much in terms of this. And if we just let it go, it'll be flowing out here. I hope that I have enough of this. Yes. So it goes in here, fills up, and then they should sort of go back and forth, and it's all going to be happy. So what I want to do is I want to show you how to build a global monitor and how to build it, well, correctly. Because it's easy to build it, and it's all, well, not even easy to build it. Alright, so what happens here is that you have to, first of all, I would always recommend sending the cycle to 60 seconds, because that means it monitors what happens over 1 minute. And that means any fluctuations of just a little glitch in supply and demand is not going to be making it sort of flicker up here. And then I would say, what I want to know is there more than zero flow? I could be sort of making sure that there is a constant high flow, but basically if there's a problem, it's going to stop working. So basically saying if the condition is that it's greater than the target flow is 0, so if it's greater than 0, then it's a pass, otherwise it's a fail. What item am I tracking? I'm tracking this item here, the item filter, the yellow cubes, and then we now see that it sort of accrues over time. And this is just the total amount that I've gotten in the last minute, and now you can see that it caps out at 1800 per minute, which corresponds to the 30 that we are transporting here. Now I want a warning. I don't want a speaker warning. I never want a speaker warning, but I want a warning here. Now I would say that what if I set it as if it's a failure? That would mean that I don't have anything moving. So the belt is empty, for example. That would correspond to us going here. And then we start seeing this one will gradually decrease. I will also make it a global here. So if it fails, then it'll go to 0. We'll just wait to see it happen. So here we have, it's now 1 minute since the last one has gone by, and then it sends a warning. It is a global signal. We can track this from anywhere in the world, in the galaxy. We can see if we go out here. If we go on a map view, then we can, if we go out here, we can see that it's that direction. And let's decheck that. Right, so this will give a warning because it's empty, but what we also have to be mindful of is that since we are just saying that there's no flow, you can see there is no flow right now. That means it's also going to go with a warning if it is stalled, and that's not intentional. So what you have to do is say failure and no cargo. Because not only is it enough that there's a failure on this one, but it also has to be a failure without having cargo transmitted. So for example, what we are going to do is we're just going to let it, we are going to actually shorten this to just a little bit less, so I don't have to sit here and wait 20 seconds every time, or wait 1 minute every time we do this. So right now it is cycling here, and it is not getting anything. So right now it's actually throwing a warning, but it's not displaying any here because it's in a warning state, or it's in a failure state but not in a warning state. Here now it's red, it's in a failure state but not in a warning state. The blinking thing is that it hasn't passed the whole cycle time, and then it won't send any signal until it's passed the whole cycle time. And then if we let it flow again, we can see that as soon as it starts flowing, the icon removes, and that's good. And I can then go, we can much easier see it like this. And then when there's 20 seconds since the last one has come in, then we will see that it disappears out. You can see this graph here. So once you get used to it, it actually is really, it's really powerful tool with the way that it's built, but it's just, I would say a bit unintuitive, the way it's been built. And we go here, that is working. And the last one we want to see, now it goes back online. It's all good. And if we check this one out, then again, it'll be idle here, but it will now no longer send a warning. So remember this: failure and no cargo. That's the error state, because you don't want to throw an error when it's just not being consumed, because the reason why the yellow is not consumed is probably because the green one is in a failure state. So hopefully that was a little introduction to this one, failure state, but no warning. Now the final thing is a bit of a bigger thing, but it's something that I see a lot of comments about that sort of don't really get the way that I built this. This is, I'm going to call it the optimal way to use a planet. And I could do a whole video for it, and I might want to do that, but now I'm going to put it in here as a tip and trick instead. The reason why if you look at a planet, there are some, I call them fault lines, and I know they call them zones, like the tropical zone and the temperate zone. That's also a fine way of calling it, the tropics. But at these points there is a shift, so never ever 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 and ever again build across these lines. That is there's a whole video about that exact thing. So I've kind of indicated it. Every certain number for the bigger squares, it's 5 of the big squares or 10 of the small squares, there is a line that goes all the way up. Those are, well, call them meridians, the prime meridians. To go all the way up, they go unbroken from south to north pole or north to south pole, again unbroken. And you can see they get here, it's 4 squares up here, 5 squares, 6 squares, 8 squares, and 10 squares. So that's kind of how it just expands out here, and that is always, all my designs are built within this. This is what I call a planetary sector. It's kind of a city block, so you get like a build is taking up a part of it, or a like this. So what I've found out is that there is a pretty damn good way of building builds inside this. So for example, if you build it here, a interstellar logistics station, you want to have the optimal number of interstellar logistics stations for the good zones, because you don't want to build up here because the zones are just too small. You want to build it down here towards the equator. That's why don't put the hub down here, don't put ray receivers, ejectors, launchers around the equator, because this is your best building area. So use it for building. This is why my polar hub is a polar hub. This is why my area here for ray receivers is here, because I want to reserve the best part of the planet for the most important stuff, the big builds. So if I build it like this, these are all having exactly the same space, and I build it, let's have a look. This is 3 squares in, this is 8 squares in, that's the middle, and this is sort of 3 squares from the other side. If I do it like this, then I have 25 tiles available to make a build, and that build is pretty often going to be a build that has 4 lanes. And then you have inputs, and outputs, and this is how much space you have available. And this is exactly the same thing for each of these. They have 25 tiles each, and there's room for 3 of them in this location if you place it like this. Then the next one, these are slightly smaller. There isn't quite enough room. These are 23 tiles long, so you can see over here we have like an extra space here and here. That extra space is gone. This is 23 tiles. But if you make it 23 tiles, then there is just exactly room for this here. And the way you have to place it is, the way I look at it is, this edge here has to be on that line, and likewise this edge has to be on the line. So basically you clear the first 2 squares and then put it down, and you clear the first 2 squares from the side and put it down, and then they can exactly be placed here. And then if you look at the next one, the ones that are 5 wide, you can just place them in here. And if you do that, then because I have solar panels here, I mean, again, this is how I build it. You might do it slightly different. Maybe you don't have the solar panels, but in this case I build it like this, and then this is also 23 wide, and this is also 23 wide, and that means you can have like the same build in pretty much the same location. If you have a standardized build that's 23 or less wide, then you know that you can place it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times for half a planet, and then of course do the same thing on the other side, because that's what you reserve. Then all the smaller ones, the ones that are only, let's go up here, the ones that are only, let's see, go here, this one, 1, 2, 3 squares wide, then that is where I use for ray receivers, ejectors, and launchers of this area, and anything smaller than that also put it in to this one. And of course I have all of these blueprints available on my website if you feel so inclined to use those. But I think that is just this is the reason why I build it always like this, always why I built it the solar panels, because now I have power everywhere. I have a nice distinction into the planetary sectors, and I can then start working, and I can make standardized designs that I can then use anywhere I want. For example, as I mentioned previously, we showed previously, we had this new solar power design here. It's a big chunk, but it takes a certain number of builds down here. And again, I don't want to be having that as a link, so I will just be taking it here. Actually, I'd rather have it something like this. This is a slightly bigger build, so it takes half of the middle planetary sector. That's also something I allow if it's too big for this. But if you have like these normal builds here, then they are, if you keep them 23 wide, then you know you can place them a lot of places. If they need a bit more space, 25 wide, then you can build it here. If you need even more, then you reserve some in the middle, and then you can build it, well, wider than this, maybe like 37 wide. So I hope that during this video there were some of the things that you didn't know or maybe didn't think of that as a possible solution, and it has helped you just get a little bit more familiar with the game, and using some of those new features that always get added and incorporating them into the way that you play the game as you do it right now. I'm streaming this game over on Twitch, at least for the time being, so as long as you're as long as there is an interest for it, and there certainly is right now, then I'm going to continue to stream that game. So come on over to Twitch or follow here on YouTube. It's all good, and I really appreciate all the support, and it's why I want to keep doing these videos for Dyson Sphere, because I see there are so many people who enjoy them. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care, and as always, stay effective.